Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we are talking about what makes somebody attractive. Um, there are many elements. It sounds like clickbait. It kind of is, sorry. But there are several elements that I think we all, as humans, pick up on when it comes to what we find attractive. I know that there's a lot of talk about, like, oh, symmetrical faces are really attractive. And then there'll be more talk about, well, actually, having an asymmetrical face makes you even more attractive. And then you'll hear about, oh, well, this type of body is actually super attractive. Well, then the opposite type of body is even more attractive. And as humans, I think none of us have any real idea of what makes another person attractive. And yet, at the same time, we can see attractiveness really easily. We can see a guy or a girl walk across the street. We're like, wow, they are very attractive. At the airport, I don't know why it's always an airport, but you see somebody and you're like, man, they're so attractive. That definitely has an element or is completely physical attractiveness, which we will talk about. But there are other aspects, obviously, about levels of attractiveness and how you can make yourself more attractive, what we find particularly attractive in other people, and why it varies so much. So I think the first thing we'll do is talk about physical attractiveness because it's sort of the most evident one. You can gauge or judge people on their physical attractiveness without even having to make their acquaintance. So physical attractiveness comes from several different areas, as we all know. You might like a symmetrical face, you might like an asymmetrical face, you might like a big nose, you might like a small nose, you might not like nice teeth, you might like a little bit of an underbite, you might like dimples when they smile, you might like a small forehead, you might like someone who's bald or someone who's got lots of hair, or big ears or small ears. The list goes on and on. Generally, I think people find a somewhat healthy body, little to no fat. A lot of this is unrealistic in so many ways, especially with the culture and the world that we live in today. Some people are obsessed with huge amounts of muscle. Some love the skinny boys. These characteristics have, I think, very little to do with what we actually find attractive when it comes to relationships and getting to know somebody. I like to do this thing with people where I ask them what their most beautiful celebrity crush is. And people will always say, these beautiful celebrities like Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise or Angelina Jolie or whoever. And then I ask them about who have they in their life loved the most, like fallen in love with. And it's really interesting, and you should definitely ask somebody this once in your life, because almost every time these people will tell you some gorgeous celebrity with amazing cheekbones or something, and then you ask them about who they've fallen in love with in life, in real life, and it's never the same. These people always end up falling in love with somebody completely different than their ideal physical specimen. And it's the same for me, like I've fallen in love a few times in my life, which is really awesome. I recommend it. And these people looked nothing like the celebrity crushes that I had when I was a kid, or the people that I regard as the most beautiful people on the planet. And so that's really good to hear, because it means that our unrealistic standard of beauty has very little to do with what we actually fall in love with or who we actually fall in love with. And so that's why I wanted to get physical attractiveness out of the way first, because it really doesn't add up. It might get you in the door. I've heard that before, that physical attractiveness, it gets you into the door, but it doesn't keep you there. So then we get to move on to far more interesting things. I think we'll talk about intelligence first. So humans are some of the most intelligent creatures that we know of. I think there are a few other creatures that are a lot more intelligent, but that's just me. But despite all of our ridiculousness and our bad decisions and our inability to keep the planet clean, We are quite intelligent. We have an ability to recognize our own consciousness and to learn from previous mistakes and to communicate in very intellectual ways. Like right now, I'm talking about some pretty abstract concepts, and you're able to completely understand what I'm saying based on just the physical vibrations of my vocal cords. We're pretty smart. We figured this stuff out a long time ago. So you might meet people in your life, hopefully many, that you find extremely intelligent, extremely smart, and there are many different facets of intelligence. There's street smarts, where somebody just understands a city like the back of their hand, or they understand how to deal with conflict resolution in a way that, an Oxford graduated professor just wouldn't understand. There are people that just get other people and can understand intonation and facial expressions and body language. And, I've known a few people in my life who could just read other people like books and say, oh, that person's having an affair with that person. And turns out they're right. Like, I didn't know. But there's also the book smart, the typical, I can remember facts and dates and history and politics, and I can tell you the capital of this country or whatever. They're the people that are just intellectually, scholastically very intelligent. And that can be a very attractive thing as well. I mean, look at all the scandals with professors sleeping with their students. That's got to be something about it. So, jokes aside, sorry if that was in bad taste. The intelligence can play a big part in what we find attractive and why we find it attractive. And this can vary in a lot of ways. The next one I think is I think it's the most interesting form of attraction, because I think this is the one that I focus on mostly. And that's actual connection with another person. Not necessarily empathy, but it sure can be empathy. But this is basically the idea that you can connect with somebody on such a deep level that you really feel that they understand who you are. They get you. You often hear about people like, oh, he just gets me. He gets me so well. And this is the thing that I focus on a lot, because it's the metric that I think I fall in love with most of the time. Love being the ultimate goal of attraction in this idea, or what I'm talking about, I guess. So when you share your story with somebody and they get it, or they'll share a story that makes you feel like they understand what you've been through, it's one of the things that I think gay relationships get really good at, is that everyone can have a similar experience in some way when it comes to coming out of the closet. And it's that same kind of idea. Maybe you meet a nice girl and, she's got a equally crazy family, just like you do. And that connects you and it bonds you in a really deep and meaningful and impactful way. And like I said, this is absolutely the one that gets me every time. It's connecting with somebody and feeling like they see me for who I am and really recognize similar advantages and disadvantages that we had in life, different struggles and tribulations, similar families. It just seems to be the thing that really connects me with other people. And a lot of my friends have been through very similar things that I've been through. So I think that's one of the things that people find attractive in general. I do want to touch on one that I think is really superficial and blah, but it's a video about what we find attractive and why we find it attractive. Physical status or social status. So apparently, some people can fall in love with somebody because they have a fast car, or they have a very powerful job, or their family is connected in specific ways. I am actively repelled by this kind of attraction. So it's kind of difficult for me to try and explain it in an unbiased way. So I'm just not gonna. So this is a very biased view of this, but here you go. Some people find other individuals very attractive because of their social status, how much money they have, their family's connections, just like what I said. I think that this is a very superficial form of love that is not built on anything substantial. I don't think it can last. I don't think it's a very particularly interesting form of love. You often hear people referred to as gold diggers. people who are exclusively interested in the relationship because of the status or the physical and monetary gains that they receive from this relationship. You often hear about billionaires in their 80s and 90s getting married to very young and beautiful women. And most people just instantly assume that these people are going for the money. They're marrying for the divorce money. They're marrying for that sweet, sweet check at the end. I don't know if that's true or not. There's a million of these situations. I'm sure some of them are genuinely built on love, but I'm sure some of them are genuinely built on being gold diggers. Sorry, it's just what it is. So that form of attraction is not very appealing to me anyway. I'm sure a lot of people are very fascinated by whether their partner makes money or not. And in some regards, it is important to try and find somebody who is of similar status to you, at least in terms of their goals or their earnings. You kind of want it to be an equal relationship in some ways. I think a lot of people are very divided on this subject. I think I'm not very fixed one way or the other, whether it's like really important or not to have a partner of similar income or status as you. I think status is largely irrelevant in 2024. I don't think a lot of people really care who your dad is or that kind of thing. Maybe if your dad is like, or your mom is like some incredible politician or celebrity or something, that might be appealing to some people. Again, it's not really my cup of tea, so I can't comment on it too much. But your physical status or how much money you make can alter your attractiveness level. Another factor that kind of goes with this is like your exceptional skills, or if you are just an exceptional human. You might meet somebody who is an incredible musician or a really high level athlete, or a very big scientist, or someone of incredible caliber who is at the top of their field or top of their interest, whether it's archery or whatever it is. And that can be very attractive to people. I can see the appeal of this absolutely when you're talking to someone and they say, oh yeah, I'm actually a D1 athlete, like competing to hopefully get into the Olympics this year. That's very impressive. As long as you have some kind of innate interest in it or you find it impressive, it can absolutely lead to attraction and falling in love and all those other fun things. And so having some kind of skill like that can absolutely be a big attractor for people, to use the word dead on the nose. And so, it's one of those things that you can consider. Hopefully there's an area in your life that you are in fact very exceptional at. You might be an incredible sketch artist or drawing person or an actor or a creative type or an athlete or. There's a million things that people can be very highly skilled at, and it can be very impressive. Again, to follow on that, passion. I think one of the greatest forms of attraction and attractiveness that somebody can possess is having an incredible passion for something. You could just have a passion for life in general. I have met people who just seem to love life. They love living, breathing, drinking water. They just exist, and you can tell they are incredibly passionate about what they do or just existing. At the same time, just what I was talking about with having like an incredible skill, they can be super passionate about something. They don't have to be the best archer or drawing person or whatever, but if they're incredibly passionate about it and they commit time every day or week or month to this specific skill or this specific area of interest, that is so attractive. I have met people who aren't the most attractive people physically or intellectually, but they're so passionate about something. It just draws you in. It draws us in when we see somebody who is incredibly focused on what they do. And I think it sort of collides with another factor of attractiveness, which is when somebody knows who they are. This can be somebody who is very in touch with their emotions, their sensitivities, connected with the way of the world. Maybe they have a faith that gives them some assurance of what happens in life. But somebody who knows who they are and has this framework, maybe they have a moral framework or a judgment system that they use to determine what is right and what is wrong, we find that very attractive as human beings. I could go on endlessly about how attractive it is when somebody truly gets who they are. They understand who they are on a deep level, and they like who they are. This is again, each one of these seems to kind of bridge up against each other, but having that positive outlook, or having an outlook that you find attractive, amazing. An optimist who is bubbly and loves themselves and loves their family, that is attractive. It's really, really attractive to meet somebody who is just so forward thinking and so optimistic and so positive. At the same time, you can also find the exact opposite really attractive. If you have somebody who has like a morbid sense of humor, who is sort of self-deprecating or thinks the world is going to hell and is just along for the ride, if you have that same outlook, you could find that incredibly attractive. It doesn't really do anything for me, but having that sort of life is crazy outlook, that kind of outlook can be very attractive to somebody. And I said the words, so again, we're bridging to the next thing: sense of humor, comedy, laughing. I think women find a sense of humor probably in their top 3 levels of attractiveness every single time. Every single one of my girlfriends, if a guy is funny, you're in, you are attractive. And so there are many different ways that we have a sense of humor. There's the morbid sense of humor that I talked about. There's the funny sense of humor, self-deprecating sense of humor. There's the ability to tell an amazing story that makes people laugh, or, makes people lean in and go, oh my gosh, what is happening? And so it's that kind of sense of humor that can really draw someone in, especially if you two share a sense of humor. Great new level of attractiveness to a person's character. I want to touch on charisma. Charisma is another great sense of attractiveness. I think charisma is like a fusion of knowing who you are, having an outlook on life, and having a good purpose. And so charisma can be an extremely powerful one. There's a great YouTube channel called Charisma on Command if you are interested in increasing your level of attractiveness with charisma. But in all honesty, I think charisma can be a very powerful one. It absolutely can get you in the door, because having a high level of charisma allows you to approach people that you find attractive and strike up a conversation. It keeps the conversation going, which is really important. A lot of these things that I've talked about that make you attractive require people to get to know you quite a bit. The physical attractiveness can be seen just looking across the room, but you can't tell if someone has a good sense of humor or a good outlook on life or a good social status or shared upbringing, you can relate to them. You can't really tell from across the room. So you need a little bit of charisma in order to, grease the wheels of the relationship, if you will. Charisma allows you to talk in a meaningful way and engage in a meaningful way with the person that you are interested in, that you're attracted to. And it lets the person know over a long period of time the different elements of attractiveness that you bring to the table. So charisma cannot be understated. It is vastly, vastly important. If your physical attractiveness gets you in the door, it's charisma that keeps everyone there. So you cannot overlook at these things. And here's the final summary. That's the best part of this whole thing. If you've stayed, you're amazing. If you've stayed for the whole 19 minutes, wow. The best part about everything that I've talked about is every single one of these aspects of attractiveness can be improved. Every single one. There isn't a single thing that cannot be improved, that cannot be exemplified or made stronger or changed if it's not going the right way. Everything from your physical attractiveness to your sense of humor, your charisma, your status in life, every single one of these things is changeable. Every single one of these things can be changed in some way. Maybe it's just 5% one way or the other, but nonetheless, that 5% can mean a lot. And so anybody who feels unattractive in any way, shape, or form, please understand that you might not have to change at all. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there and everybody's looking for a connection. But if you desire change in your life, if you desire to seek passion or to find, a new hobby that you are driven about, or to improve your status or your intelligence or whatever, there are so many resources in today's world that give you the tools and the ability to become more, to become better. Like I said, you don't have to change for anybody or anything. You should want to change for yourself and just improve yourself every day, because awesome. But the real benefit to this whole idea of attractiveness and to judgment and the dating culture and all the obstacles and the mountains that you have to climb is that every single one of them is possible. There isn't a single factor about yourself that cannot be made more or better or made to enjoy more. And you don't have to do it for anyone else. You can do it for yourself. A lot of people sort of make jokes that like I go to the gym specifically to look hot for other people. I go because I love it and because I like looking the way I look. There's really no other factor. I couldn't care what other people think of me. It's a great addition, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that it improves that whole aspect of my life, but I go because I love the gym. I love to work out. I love when the blood is pumping and my lungs are desperately crawling for air. I do it because I love it, and you can do it because you love it as well. Whatever it is, whether it's pottery or being a drawing person. I don't know why I kept saying that, but there are so many aspects to how we find people attractive and what we find attractive in ourselves and in other people. These are just the surface level things that I could talk about in a 20-minute video, and every single one of them can be improved and enhanced and made that much more amazing. So I hope this video helps. I hope it finds you in a good world where you're doing your best and you're constantly improving and doing the things that you love. And let me know what you think about these things. And did I miss any elements of attractiveness? I'm sure I did. I'm sure that there were elements that I just forgot or didn't touch on. Sense of style. There's all kinds. There's so much, guys. So I will leave it with you. Thank you so much for watching. And please know that the only person that you have to impress is yourself. And everyone else can take a long walk off a short pier. So I love you guys. I hope this helped. I hope it was uplifting, which was absolutely the intent. And thank you for listening. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.